Okay, here we are, so we can start.
Okay. So this is our usual meeting of Saturday, Quattro Chiacchere con of DeFi Italy. And today there is a Ethereum name service here with Brantly. Nice to have you here, Brantly.
Yes, see, ciao.
And we will see today to get together what's your project is doing. I mean, how is going the market and how is going your service? Because we started also to use the services before personally with, Emiliano Bonassi.eth or Simone Conti.eth, and then with the DeFi Italy domain, like DeFiItaly.eth.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah, that's cool that you guys are doing that.
Yeah. So I think that we can start if you can spend some words about you, what you are, and how the project is born.
Sure. Okay. Well, my name is Brantly Milligan. I am Director of Operations for the Ethereum name service. I live in Springfield, Oregon, West Coast of the United States. So I just got up, married with 5 kids. I've been to Italy once before. I went to Bologna and Roma, of course. Roma. Went to Mass with the Pope. So I'm Roman Catholic. It was cool. Okay, so Ethereum name service. Ethereum name service is blockchain-based internet naming infrastructure. So the internet has a naming system called DNS, or domain name system. And it was created in the 1980s, and it has the best of 1980s technology. It has this hierarchical pyramid server structure, which I won't explain right now, but we think that that system can be vastly improved with blockchain technology. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to, with our system, which uses just smart contracts on Ethereum, has better security. It has programmability of your names. It has self-custody of names. A lot of it's censorship resistant. A lot of interesting things that you can do if you have a blockchain-based naming system. So that's what we're doing.
Great. And basically, which kind of problem try to solve ENS? So the first one.
Good question. So like, what are like we doing very practically? So the very first thing that ENS did, so first of all, I should say ENS is focused on, ENS can name anything, so it can do anything that DNS does or more, okay? But we're primarily focused on things that DNS, the traditional DNS, is not already doing.
Mm-hmm.
So the very first use case was naming Ethereum addresses. So ENS started almost 4 years ago, and it was trying to just name Ethereum address. That's it.
So
And then since then we've added, yep.
No, sorry, please continue.
Well, since then we've added a lot of other features. So now you can store any cryptocurrency address, so Bitcoin, Litecoin, whatever you want. We have what's called a content record, where you can store what's called an IPFS hash. You have a decentralized website. You can also store tor.onion addresses in there. We have text records, where you can store any information you want. Your own project can actually have its own record if you want, or you can create your own records. We also did just launch a project storing traditional DNS records as well, just recently. So we're slowly expanding into that. But primarily, we've been focused on these other use cases, so cryptocurrency addresses and decentralized websites.
So basically, what I can do is using a human-readable name, like for example, Emiliano.eth, and associate to my Ethereum address, or as you mentioned, from I think 1 month or something like that, also to other blockchain addresses or other content that I want. And when a user want to register a name, what should he or she do?
They can go to app.ens.domains, and that's our manager, and they can just search for a name to see if it's available. And if it is, they can register it. Most cost just $5 a year. And then just follow the instructions to set up the records. Get your. I think actually now when you register your name, it actually puts your Ethereum address in the record for you automatically. And then if you want to add anything beyond that, maybe a Bitcoin address or whatever you'd like, you can do that.
Okay. And how is it linked, the Ethereum address with this domain, with this ENS? How does it work?
Yeah, so all the records, so what is a naming system? A naming system is you just have names and you have records attached to those names. And in our system, all of that is stored on the Ethereum blockchain. And you own a name, and you can just store that information in your records on the name. And then the way it works is, let's say I'm using a wallet. Let's say I'm using Trust Wallet or Coinbase Wallet. We're in Coinbase Wallet. If I type in Brantly.eth in Coinbase Wallet to send Dogecoin, Coinbase Wallet just looks up the record on Ethereum and grabs the appropriate address and puts it into the wallet.
Great. So basically you have a collection of smart contracts that manage the registration, so we don't have duplicates or something like that. It also manage, if I understand correctly, you have to renew the registration of your name. Usually it lasts 1 year. So basically there is some part of smart contract that manage this stuff, and then there is another one publicly accessible that is basically the resolver, the register. So I query that smart contract, say, okay, who is or which kind of records has this name? So Emiliano.eth. And maybe it returns the one Ethereum address and other metadata like Bitcoin address or whatever. It's something like that, if I remember.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, so it's all smart contracts. I mean, I think that's a cool thing about ENS is that we don't run any servers anywhere, okay? Like in terms of running the Ethereum name service, it all runs the smart contracts on Ethereum. So like if our organization, that's just sort of like the de facto managers of it, if we blew up and went away, everything would continue to run.
Great. As you mentioned, I mean, there should be clients or platforms that support, can interpret the name Emiliano.eth or other domains like luca.defiitaly.eth. So how many platforms now support you? Really didn't do a commitment, but support really. So where I can put my ENS name and be able to use it?
Yeah, I think the number is 123 now. So I think it's around 35 wallets and 85 dApps, somewhere around that. So, and that includes, so in terms of wallets, you're showing it on the screen here. Things like Coinbase Wallet, Trust Wallet, My Ether Wallet, Argent, Brave, Burner Wallet, Alpha Wallet. Tons of wallets supported. More wallets are adding it all the time. And then in terms of tons of dApps also support ENS. So let's say if you want to check your DeFi balances, you just, instead of putting and pasting in your Ethereum account, you paste, you type in your ENS name. There's lots of different use cases there. So ENS is widely used at this point.
Great.
And what's the role of these? The root key holders, Brantly.
Good question. Okay, so these people do a couple different things. The first thing that they do is that they run a 4 of 7 multi-sig that can do a few basic things to the system. They can set prices. They can also turn the system off if they need to. The reason we have this is because I don't know how long you guys have been in the space. Were you guys around for the 2016 DAO controversy?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
for your listeners who maybe weren't, back in the day, in early Ethereum, okay, there was this big DAO called the DAO. It was the first DAO, and it raised like $150 million. It was ridiculous. And then there ended up being a bug in the contract, and it ended up being, this is why Ethereum Classic exists. I mean, this is a terrible event. It was fun, but it was terrible. And basically, a lesson from that is that you have to be really, really careful with your smart contracts. And you might want to build in some way that you can upgrade your smart contracts or have some sort of fail safe in case you have some sort of terrible mistake until you are really, really certain that you have no bugs. Or else you just have to like fork the blockchain or something like this. Now, in the course of in the case of ENS, that's what this is partially. We would like all of that to eventually be completely decentralized, like maybe be run by a DAO or something like that. DAOs, though, are still in development. There's still experimentation going on with DAOs.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'd like to give all of that to something else, but this was the best we could come up with, just a 4 of 7, where 7 people are throughout the Ethereum community. They're not all on our team or something like this. And this just sort of gives us some accountability.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting. And
oh wait, let me say one other thing on that. Also, any money that people pay for annual fees also goes to a wallet that they control. Again, so the money doesn't just come straight to us; it goes to this 4 of 7, so that they can offer some accountability. Like, are we using the money well? Are we not? Are they going to give it to us? Are they going to give it to someone else? Are they going to burn it? So it's just a layer, an extra layer of accountability.
And talking about the money, what's the business model of ENS?
Well, so far, so one, we're a nonprofit organization based in Singapore that manages this.
Mm-hmm.
Most of our money has come from grants, primarily from the Ethereum Foundation. We've also gotten some grants from other sources like Protocol Labs and Binance X and things like this. Our long-term funding solution is that money that comes in from .ETH renewals will hopefully come to us, and that will hopefully be the long-term funding plan for our group managing ENS.
Great. Thank you, Brantly. I have few questions that we collected from the users. So the first one is, could you register only .eth names or also other names, other root names?
So here's what's going on there. These endings like .eth or .com, these are called top level domains, TLDs.
TLD, yeah.
And .eth is an ENS native top level domain. So we created it. It does not exist on the traditional DNS. We created it. And there's benefits to that. You get the full security. You get all the full benefits.
Yeah.
However, we don't just want to start creating tons of top level domains. We actually want to just integrate the existing top level domains in DNS to work on ENS, so that if you own a DNS name, you can just use that for your ENS name. And we've actually already started to do that. So we've already integrated .xyz, .cred, lux, .art, .club. And so, for example, I own Brantly.xyz on DNS. I've also then claimed it on ENS. And so if you go to Brantly.xyz, it's my normal website, but you can also send me Dogecoin and Trust Wallet with Brantly.xyz. And that is our long-term vision. We expect that most names on ENS will not be .eth. Most names will be just DNS names that have this expanded functionality by also working on ENS.
That's very interesting. I mean, especially for .art domain, I think that a lot of crypto artists are already using them for, receiving, like using Patreon, but using blockchain basically. And
Yes.
okay, and what about the renewal of the domains? Can be paid by anyone or should be paid only by the owner of the domain?
Yeah, so anybody can pay the renewal. So I could just look up a random name and add a couple years of renewal if I wanted to. The original owner maintains ownership. You can also pay ahead for renewals. So the smallest time period you can pay to renew is 1 month, and the longest you can pay is as long as you want. So, like you said, most people renew for 1 year at a time, but if I want to just forget about it, I could renew for 100 years. Yeah. And then that's basically forever. I could forget about it.
Great.
And is there a secondary market of the domains?
Yes. So .eth domains, which are native domains, all of them are ERC 721 NFTs. And so they can plug into very easily any NFT market. So OpenSea is sort of like the big one. There's lots of buying and selling of there's a big secondary market there, but there's also other ones, eMoon. I think there's a couple other ones as well.
Yeah.
Great. This is very important. And so the other question related to this is how many domains we have. I mean, how many are registered or claimed? So basically the native one or the the traditional one.
I think last I've seen about 350,000.
Wow.
And I would just say that's just second level domains. So that's like, example.eth. Okay. You can also then, if you own a second level domain, you can have unlimited third level domains or what we call subdomains. So like myfriend.example.eth, right? If you own a second level domain, you have unlimited subdomains. Yeah. So the 350,000 is not counting subdomains.
That's interesting. I think this is the same approach that the Argent wallet does. So basically you have received an argent.xyz domain with your name, obviously, and I think that they pay for you this kind. And this is one of the other questions from the user. And obviously February and March were the months of the security for the DeFi. We have several tests about that. And so one question is, your smart contract are audited?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, all of our smart contracts have been audited. We actually just did discover a bug a few months ago, which is amazing. It was in a contract that's been on mainnet for like 3 years at this point, and someone discovered some random bug. I mean, so we had to fix that. That was the thing we recently fixed. But yeah, you were talking about Argent. So what Argent's a great project, great wallet, and they're doing something that we highly recommend. So what they have is they have Argent.xyz, which, like I said, is integrated. It's in both DNS and ENS. And then they give every user a subdomain of that. So let's say like Brantly.argent.xyz. And they do something really interesting with it. They let it be your ENS wallet. So I can send, Ether or Ethereum-based tokens to Brantly.argent.xyz. But they also create that subdomain on DNS and they make it my user profile. So if I go to Brantly.argent.xyz in a normal browser, it goes my user profile page.
That's interesting because you know what, Sublier, I think last month or several weeks ago, introduced Sublier.me, where you can see the user profile and you can start to stream money or receive money from them. So I think that
Stablers, yep.
ENS, Sablier.me. So I think that this is quite interesting approach, because one of the issues that has the crypto world in this moment is the adoption. So tools and project or infrastructure tools like ENS, thanks to the wallet, can be an enabler for the adoption. So this is very, very interesting. So another question of our user was that they saw an upgrade that ran the last month. So what about this upgrade? It was related to the bug only, or also introduced new features?
Yeah, both. So it was we did it because of the bug, and then we're like, well, if we're going to do all this work, we might as well put in some upgrades that maybe we wish were there too. So back in November, we had somebody disclose a bug to us that they found, and it had to do with years ago, back in the day, 2017. ENS, the ENS registry contract was originally written in this other language called LLL, not Solidity. LLL people don't use anymore, but people back then did. And there were some certain reasons why we wrote in that. Well, it turns out that LLL, which nobody uses anymore, has some weird quirks about it.
Uh-huh.
And it led to some unexpected behavior that nobody had noticed, but this guy noticed it. It wasn't terrible, but it could have been a problem. So we're like, okay, we're going to need to fix this. And the only way to fix this was for us to just redeploy the ENS registry contract and migrate all the names over. Because our expectation we wrote the ENS registry contract to be so simple, we thought this will never have to be replaced ever.
Yeah.
That's our expectation even now going forward. But we did have to replace it. And then every single wallet and dApp using it had to upgrade, change the registry contract they were using. And that's what we had to do. Yes, it also, we were able to do some upgrades. One thing is it's now possible to register a name, set the resolver, and set the record all in one transaction, which is very convenient.
Yeah.
And what's your next plan for this year and the next year, Brantly?
Yeah, so our next big project, I would say, that hopefully will be done by sometime Q2, is full DNS name integration. So I mentioned we have some DNS top-level domains already integrated in ENS. We now want to roll that out to the entire DNS namespace. Basically, we've done some experimentation and it works. Now we want to integrate everything. I'm really excited about that. I think that's revolutionary in that all the names people already exist. They just now can have this additional ENS functionality for free, by the way. We don't even charge for that. We do charge for .eth names, but we don't charge anything if you're using your DNS name on it.
Great. This is
and
no, so please.
Will it remain in your plans always no profit foundation that is managing this?
Yeah, because we view ENS as basic internet infrastructure. That's our view. Our view is that this is the domain name system of the future. And we think if something's a basic protocol of the internet, that it should be run by a nonprofit. So that's why we've set ourselves up this way. I will point out, we do have some competitors in this space trying to do the same thing, and they're taking a very different approach. So Unstoppable Domains, they're a for-profit, basically just a for-profit copycat that does everything we do, but we do more, and we also have a way bigger ecosystem. But they've raised $5 million from Tim Draper, and they're just trying to see if they can own a piece of the internet going forward. We don't think anybody should own basic internet infrastructure. There's other projects doing similar things, but we're the leaders by a long shot.
But my question is, from non-technical perspective, how you can guarantee that you are the only one to provide, for example, .ata address? So I mean, let's say that another competitor tried to sell me a Simone.eth, but I already bought Simone.eth from you. How you can guarantee this kind of thing?
Right. You can't guarantee it. So the way names, well, it depends on what you mean by guarantee. We can guarantee that there's only one owner of a given name in our system. Someone else can always create their own system that has the same names and is selling the same names to other people. That's always possible. In that sense, the value then is in the network effect, that if everybody is using our system, someone else can make their own system and sell the same names, but if nobody's using that alternative system, then it doesn't matter. So for example, I could take the Bitcoin software, make a few tweaks, deploy it, and now I have Bitcoin 2.0, and oh my gosh, did I just expand the supply of Bitcoin? Well, no, because if no one's using my system has no value.
We know Roger Ver, yeah.
Exactly. So I would say, though, that this question reveals a really important thing about naming, which is that naming is inherently a social enterprise. So like the value of your name is based on the fact that other people are not going to try to copy your name. So like on the internet today, like when we say Google owns Google.com, what does that mean? What that really means is that nobody else is going to use that name. And we all just agree this because the benefit of a naming system comes if there's only one owner per name. We all benefit from this. So it's a social contract. This is why there is an organization that manages what names exist called ICANN. So the Internet Corporation for the Assignment of Numbers and Names. It's an international organization. They have like 3 major conferences a year plus regional conferences. Anybody can go, anybody can be a part of it. And this organization decides like the creation of new top-level domains, who owns them, under what terms, things like this. And we think this type of organization is very important. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, my fear could be like, the scammer, for example, in my Twitter name, I have Simone.Conti.eth, And if someone create this kind of name in another system and try to, go to the people and earn or reward some money from them using that name, people have to be aware that this kind of name.eth could be used in different systems, and it's not the same. Yeah, this one is an important point.
Right. So if you have the same name being used in 2 different systems, that is called a name collision. And name collisions are bad for exactly what you're saying. They create confusion, which then defeats the whole point of having a naming system, which is to make things easier, right? That's why we have a naming system. So it's very important that there is what's called a single naming root, that there is one basically system of ownership of names that everyone in the whole world uses, that we don't have competing lists of who owns what name. Yeah. And this is why we have an organization called ICANN, which tries to help manage that. But you're right. I mean, I would say, look, somebody can always take our code, deploy their own version of ENS and start selling .eth names very easily. But that is worthless if nobody uses their system. Yeah. So like no wallet is going to integrate their system.
Yeah, it's clear. It depends from the integration, from the market.
Correct.
And what kind of, so what's your strategy to grow your number of users, your integrations? What's the strategy of growth?
Yeah, I would say our primary strategy thus far has been to work on integrations. So we figure ENS is most useful if it's like integrated everywhere, right? So, for example, like every single cryptocurrency wallets, we want to have ENS so that that's the easiest way to send a cryptocurrency anywhere, and then just everybody wants to have an ENS name because it's integrated everywhere. So I guess that's been our primary strategy thus far.
Yeah, and I think also that once you integrate, for example, your service with Argent, with Coinbase Wallet, Argent or Coinbase Wallet are not going to integrate services like yours because it generates confusion, no? So it's really important to arrive for first, I mean.
Sure.
The
Yeah.
integration.
I think so. Yeah. And like I said, we're widely integrated at this point, especially in the last year. We've expanded that a lot. And yeah, I agree.
And okay, before coming back to the auditing and to the governance that we just touched a little bit, uh, we go ahead with the business question. And one of the question of our user was mainly, what's the differences between you like ENS and other competitors like Unstoppable Domains? I mean, from my point of view, basically, they have also a browser and tools that help to navigate through custom domains. Maybe they have some primary market that resemble the ordinary DNS primary market. But from an expert like you, because I think that you did the analysis of Unstoppable, which are the main difference? So why, if I'm a user, why should I choose you or Unstoppable Domains, or choose both, for example?
Yeah, no, I think you should definitely choose ENS. So you mentioned they have their own browser extension. The reason they've built that is because they haven't been able to get into any other browsers or extensions. So we have not built our own browser extension. One, I think building your own browser is foolish because it's very, very difficult to maintain the security of a browser, which is why there's not very many browsers out there. But we have, ENS already has native support in Brave. It has support in Opera. We are also in MetaMask Mobile, the mobile app, in the Status mobile app. We're actually in also the Unstoppable browser too. And then in terms of extensions, we're in the MetaMask extension. So if you have MetaMask, which almost everybody does in the cryptocurrency space, that has ENS built into it. So you don't need any other extensions. So like if you want to go to like Brantly.eth, you can do that in your browser with MetaMask already. You don't need to get yet another extension. So we're already in lots of browsers and extensions. That's why we're not making our own. But I would actually say that highlights a difference between us and Unstoppable Domains. We've been around longer, and we're in far more integrations, like 10 times more integrations than them. And so we're in way more wallets, way more dApps, way more browsers. Another big difference is that we're a nonprofit organization. We view this as a basic protocol of the internet that nobody should really own. They're a for-profit company, so they have a very different incentive model. We don't think that makes sense for a naming system for a for-profit company to own that. Also, they have a very different approach to traditional DNS. So our approach is we have .eth as sort of like a testing ground and a place for the full benefits, but we're not going to make more toppable domains than that. And we actually want to integrate the DNS namespace into our system and bring the benefits to that. And we want to work with ICANN. We actually have good relationships in the traditional DNS world. Unstoppable Domains, they're taking a very different approach. They actually want to overthrow the traditional DNS world. They want it to all go away. They've actually said publicly they want all .coms to completely go away and for everybody to use their system instead. I would say we don't even think we don't even think that's a desirable outcome. We don't think it's good for the world if the whole DNS system went away and just replaced with a small a small for-profit company. We want to upgrade the current DNS system. So that's a very different approach. I would also say too, the last thing is, so the one top-level domain we did create was .eth. It's a little complicated, but there's actually very, very low chance of there ever being a name collision with the ICANN traditional DNS space with that, because that top-level domain is reserved as a 3-letter country code for Ethiopia, but that will never be used. However, Unstoppable Domains, they launched the topleveldomain.crypto. There will almost certainly be a name collision at some point with traditional DNS, okay? That is a valuable top-level domain. They did not go through the ICANN process. Next time that ICANN opens up top-level domain, new top-level domains being created, people will try to get .crypto. Unstoppable Domains might get it, but if it goes to someone else could then start selling the same names on DNS, which we'd have the name collision problem, which you guys brought up. You'd have one person owns Brantly.crypto on the Unstoppable Domain system, a different person owns Brantly.crypto on the traditional DNS system. And I would say that would really just make all these names useless, because the DNS version is almost certainly going to win because it's used throughout the entire world.
Okay.
So
no, it's clear and also it emerged the vision of ENS compared to maybe a more traditional company like Unstoppable Domains. Anyway, we are in a free market, so we will see what will what will happen. So going through the path to the governance. So do you have contacts with the current board of current DNS organization? So do you have do you lobbied in some sense with them? You discussed with some integration at some point? Is something that we may know, or there is no public disclosure yet?
Yeah, no, it's all public. It's all public. So yeah, we have good relationships. So I know multiple ICANN board members. I know, and they know us, and we have good relationships. They're watching things closely. I know the CTO of ICANN. He actually recommended that we join this one organization called DNS OARC. So that's DNS, Domain Name System Operations Research and Analysis Center. It's a technical organization that manages DNS. We actually just joined that as a member. We're a blue member of DNS OARC. I actually presented at their meeting in San Francisco in February. I've also presented at an ICANN conference before. So the integrations we're doing with DNS, we can just do. We don't need anybody's permission to do that. But we are keeping that community appraised of what's going on, and we have good relationships with them.
Okay, so starting from this point, as you mentioned, actually there is a governance team with a multi-sig wallet that manage manage the upgrades of these smart contracts, the wallet that received the fee for the renewal or the registrations. So the question is, to be a real no-profit organization or something that could be recognized like the DNS traditional system, user, especially me, expect some improvement about the governance. So the emerging of a DAO or a system like that, where anyone could participate in some sense. So do you have any plan to be open in this sense and maybe switch from a very naive DAO with a multi-sig wallet with something more complex, or that can express all the governance needings that one tool like yours should need?
Yeah, no, I'd say we definitely want to. We have to wait until DAOs are good enough for that. We're not going to turn control of ENS over to an experimental DAO and then it falls apart and then we have another big DAO hack or something like this. So I'd say experimenting with DAOs, that's not our expertise. We're watching this space though, and if we feel like DAOs get to the point where, this is reliable enough, we can put over control, then we definitely want to do that.
So basically your feedback in this sense, and you don't feel that the DAO ecosystem right now is mature enough to use for ENS, basically.
Correct.
Okay, great. And going towards to the DNS is something built on top of traditional protocol that we have on internet. I mean, you can run internet without DNS, but now DNS is essential for a lot of stuff, for fault tolerance, for a lot of services, for having an internet that is human readable. Also marketers need DNS to create links and other stuff. So my question is, do you think that in some future Ethereum protocol will embed natively ENS? So in this sense, we don't have anymore the problem of name collision. I mean, we will have for sure an official naming system like DNS, but it will be integrated natively. So we don't need any other, overstructure to have it.
So are you asking, could Ethereum itself have native integration of ENS?
I mean, I'm expecting. What about if in the future there will be an Ethereum improvement proposal that will say, okay, we should change or embed natively in Ethereum an ENS-like service. So addresses could be, the hash of the public key and a human-readable stuff that works like this.
Yeah, so I don't think Ethereum will do that, because I think Ethereum, on the protocol level of Ethereum, wants to be as agnostic as possible. It wants to have as few features as possible. I mean, I think there was a saying back early in Ethereum where people said Ethereum has no features, because they just want it to be a platform, and then any features or anything that people do, people build on Ethereum, right? And I think there's wisdom in that they don't have to pick winners. They don't have, also that people can upgrade the naming system without having to upgrade the entire Ethereum protocol, right? So we had this bug, this is a great example, in ENS that we discovered the last few months ago. And we were able to fix that without having to do a hard fork of the whole Ethereum protocol system, right? So I think that makes sense. I don't think Ethereum on the protocol level will ever embed a naming system.
Great. I agree with your vision. I think that Ethereum will remain, at least for now, a computing platform instead of embedding features like these that are more, network or application related. So that's very interesting. So
I will. Can I say one other thing about that though?
Yeah.
I will say though that ENS, insofar as ENS becomes basic infrastructure on the internet, I'd say it's pretty basic infrastructure in the blockchain space, but it's starting to expand to the rest of the internet for other uses. Insofar as ENS becomes basic infrastructure, that makes Ethereum basic infrastructure, because ENS runs on Ethereum. So in some ways, one path to Ethereum becoming basic infrastructure for the whole internet is that you have an application on Ethereum become basic infrastructure, which then means that now Ethereum, the protocol, is also basic infrastructure. Does that make sense?
Yeah. For me, make very sense. So we have two questions from the users. The first one is related to the upgrade that you did last month. So they need to do something to upgrade or migrate, because some of them saw in the app of ENS domains that they need to migrate some contract. But if they don't do, it will continue to work, or at some point there will be a cutoff?
Good question. No, users don't have to do anything. The only people that had to do the change are wallets and dApps that have ENS integrated. Okay. If you're a user and you don't do anything, your name will continue to work just fine. However, if you want to upgrade your change your records at all, then you do have to like hit this migrate button, which is just a one-time thing. But if you don't do it, everything's fine. The main thing to just remember in general is you have to renew your names, and that is coming up soon. So if you owned a name in the past, this year is the first time that names can lapse. You can actually lose your name if you don't renew. So if you own any ENS names, look it up in our manager. It'll tell you when it expires. If it's expiring soon, maybe add a couple years so you can forget about it. But that is something you do need to do.
Great. And the other question from the user is mostly related to what for you, Brantly, the most interesting dApps that is using ENS in a creative way?
Yeah, so I mean, I mentioned Argent and what they're doing with that. I think this very interesting integration between ENS and DNS is great. I really like what Brave has, where they have it not only integrated in their crypto wallet, but also for decentralized websites. I think it's great. I mean, there's a couple browsers that do that. I really like the project Almonit, what you can look up on our website. They are a directory and search engine for ENS plus IPFS decentralized websites, which is great. I mean, that's really cool.
Like a Google for, yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's always the place that I tell people to look to first if they're trying to check out decentralized websites. You can find all of them there. .cred is a DNS TLD that is doing some very interesting integration between ENS and DNS. I have explained on our blog. Yeah, there's a bunch of projects that are doing creative uses with ENS.
Great. And my very last question from my side is, we discuss a lot about integrations and how you can grow. Also, me and Simone do many discussion about growth strategy, how a business model could scale. So, in this sense, wallets or registrar or providers and platforms that help you to grow the number of domain, how they can be incentivized. I mean, they are currently incentivized, they will be more, so how it works?
Yeah, I mean, the incentive at this point is that we are a widely used naming system that users increasingly expect wallets and dApps to have integrated. And if you don't have ENS, your app, or your service, or your wallet, or whatever it is harder to use, and users might be upset at you for not having it. I mean, that's the incentive. We don't pay anybody to integrate us or anything like that. If you want to get paid to integrate something, I think Unstoppable Domains has $1 million that they're giving away to people that integrate. Feel free to do that. We're not giving anything away. But we're the most widely used naming system by a long shot, by like an order of magnitude, and that's the incentive. That you want a better experience for your users.
Yeah, I think that this for sure is the value that you can get for integrating this. I was more focused on providers that help you to register domain instead of just resolving. Is just related to
using, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is actually a key thing to understand about ENS, that ENS is a set of smart contracts. Our manager at app.ens.domains, that is just a user interface for those smart contracts. But anybody can interact with the smart contracts without a user interface if they're smart and know how to do that. Or they can build their own user interface. So anybody can build a user interface and do this. So if you want to set up a website and start, create a user interface to sell .eth names, you can do that. And in fact, you could even charge extra than what the protocol requires, and you could take that extra price. So for example, there is a company called Encirca, which is an ICANN approved DNS registrar. They also offer .eth names. And they have a system where you don't have to know anything about Ethereum. You don't have to own any Ether. You just click a button, they'll do it all for you. Even though most names cost $5, they charge $25. And they take the rest because they're providing a service to make it easy for people. So that's something that registrars can do.
This is something that I would like to explore. I think that thanks to the fact that the contracts are open and anyone could do this job, if they provide added value, for example, you don't pay the renewal if you register, or you get this setup for free. I will hide all the complexity that may I have. We had a discussion with Sid Kala of Roll about that. I mean that as soon as we are able to build how to say a Web 2 ramp to the Web 3 world for Web 2 users, hiding the complexity, but at the same time let emerge only the advantage of platforms, it will be great. So welcome to all these kind of platforms that offer this kind of service. I would like to explore which are your suggestions for people or businesses that maybe want to add some new service using ENS. Okay, great. I'm checking other questions, but I think that we don't have. Simone, do you have any other question to Brantly?
No, for me it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, so the last question from Brantly, or better, to Brantly is, Brantly, do you have any question for us and the DeFi Italy community?
Oh man, another project we want to do this year is we want to translate all of our manager and all of our documents. And we would love help with that, getting it into Italian at some point later this year.
Yeah, I think that you can count on us and our community. And I think that thanks to the fact that we have social money on it, we can also maybe do a bounty for it. So if people want to do it, they can receive some sort of bounty. This is thanks for the question. We supported a lot with the SAI migration tool, the backstop bot for the backstop syndicate for Maker. So we are always proud and willing to help to do this kind of things.
We can find some incentivization program for doing that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, for sure. I have another question, but now I don't remember. But I can write you easily without any problem. And if you want, obviously you can join the. Wait, I have a question in the chat. Okay, when I renewal my ETH domain, where my ETH will go, only pay for the transaction. Okay, Hale is asking that. I think that Brantly you already said, but if you can repeat where the Ethereum for the registration and renewal go.
Yep. It goes to that 4 of 7 multi-sig wallet that we talked about previously, and that's listed on our website. And then those people get basically decide what to do with it, which the default is that they give it to our organization, which is managing ENS. But they could give it somewhere else if they want to.
And the organization is a non-profit, just to remind.
Correct. And our organization is a non-profit, correct. It's called True Names Limited, based in Singapore.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, I think we are done.
Yeah. It was a very good Quattro Chiacchere, or ask me anything if you want to localize in English. Thank you very much, Brantly, especially because we didn't say, but it's really early over there. So thank you for your availability. And we are looking forward for the initiative for translating ENS in Italian or other languages.
Oh, great. And where in Italy are you guys again?
Sorry?
where we are basically. Simone is in Switzerland in Lugano, and me, Emiliano,
right.
I am in Milan. So basically Milan.
Oh, you're in Milan.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're like at ground zero for.
Yeah.
You're right in Lombardy.
Yeah. I'm a survivor. In this.
There's a small chance I might go to Milan. In September. I mean, there's a conference, a DNS OART conference scheduled for Milan this fall. Assuming, if coronavirus is still going on, then it won't happen. But
yeah, I think.
What's the name? What's the name of the conference?
DNS OARC. It's the DNS Operations Analysis and Research Center that I mentioned, and they have 2 to 3 conferences a year. Like I did one in San Francisco this year, and then there was supposed to be one in Paris, but got canceled. And they have one from Milan in the fall, although that might get canceled too. We'll see.
Yeah, I hope not, but probably. Okay.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean that we usually always host a meetup every month in Milan physically. Obviously now we are running virtually, but hoping that September will be a good month. If we will match the dates, we can meet at the meetup also with other community.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Brantly.
Great to chat with you guys.
Ciao.
Ciao. Bye-bye.